everybody, and welcome back to our season 2 Dawson's Creek rewatch. For those of you that are new here, this is our nostalgic or problematic series, and right now we are rewatching Dawson's Creek. Like I said, season 2. We are currently on episode 6, and it is titled The Dance. And here's the summary. A homecoming dance brings Pacey and Andi together while driving Dawson and Joey apart.
Mm-hmm. That's
Ta-da.
right. Homecoming dance. You know, if you have any teen drama, you've got to have the homecoming dance on some sort of episode.
Listen, I had so much drama at like every dance I went to my entire life from middle school on.
Yeah.
Mostly in middle school, I was depressed because nobody wanted to dance with me.
That's a rough one.
Listen. And boys are mean. Like,
girls are mean too.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
I know what you're saying though.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and so drama at dances is
it's
real
normal.
Life thing.
That's a real life teen thing. All right, you just
jump
right in.
All right, so right away, the Footloose references were getting me. How they were just kind of basically talking about that, and then there was a Marsha Brady reference in there too. Did you hear that? That was so
hilarious,
so funny. And then I just said Dawson's parents talk. I think I'm skipping ahead though. That's when they talk to Dawson later about the you know what? Yeah, but that's later.
About the divorce?
Yeah.
We're not saying divorce?
We are.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure I wasn't sure if you had anything else on like the opening.
Oh, I just said when like Andi's trying to convince them to go to the dance.
Yeah.
And she said dancing could be really great foreplay. And I was like, yep, that's pretty much the fun of high school dances,
yes.
Right?
Right.
Even if nothing else happens except that at the dance.
Mm-hmm. That was part of the fun. It's a whole thing.
Or the hope for it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And that's, you get all dressed up.
Yes.
It reminds me of Mean Girls, which was obviously after this, the whole like at the watering hole kind of idea, except at a dance where like it's such a social experiment.
Oh, it is.
If you were just to people watch, it's like totally that. And we're also like isolated in our own thought bubble when we would go to those things.
Oh my God, so much.
Whether you were like talking to someone or not, there was always somebody you had your eye on, like who you hoped would see you or think you looked cute or want to dance with you or whatever.
But the most fun dances, though, I will say, were the ones where I just went with a bunch of girlfriends or like platonic male friends. Like we just went as a group. It was so much more fun to not have that pressure.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Just not. Oh, and my prom date was great. He's gay.
Was he out
not telling people
then?
No.
Okay.
And I didn't know that.
Okay.
But we went platonically.
Okay.
But we had so much fun.
Was this your senior prom?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's
we only had a senior prom. Yeah. So my friend Ryan. So hey Ryan, I don't know if he listens, but anyways.
Okay. So then Dawson's parents talk after the intro. So now they've decided on the previous episode that they're going to get divorced, but they haven't told Dawson yet until now. And I have a heart by it, not because I'm like, yay, they're getting divorced, but I felt like and you can tell me because you grew up with your parents, getting divorced and everything. It felt like they handled it well. And even when he was sort of throwing a temper tantrum about it, understandably, they just kind of stood their ground and said, this isn't your choice. This is our choice. What did you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I was younger than Dawson when my parents split up, but every kid who's from a divorced family remembers the talk like this, no matter how you got it. And I think all kids, if they've been with their parents married for whatever amount of time, don't want it to happen. Even if it's a toxic situation, even if it's because that's what you know, right?
Yeah.
That's just what you know. And I'm not going to say all the time, but most of the time, because I mean, there are some situations I'm sure that kids are glad that it's, splitting up. But I think they did a good job of it. And I think they did a good job of showing how Dawson felt, like he was pissed. You are pissed. From a parent perspective, though, I can understand when the parents are like, this is not about you. It is about us. And that is true. Like, even though you are parenting a child, your marriage is just the two of you.
Right.
So it affects your kid. but your marriage and your parenting are separate, which is weird to think about, but it's true. Your marriage is its own thing. It had to be before you could even think of having a family together. Well, not before you could think of it, but before you could figure out the dynamic of it. Like you brought kids into the marriage of you and Brant. He brought kids in, and then you had kids. So before you could even figure out how to work that, your relationship had to be set.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, it is separate. And it does make you kind of think, because the family unit is not the same as the marriage.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a much easier way of saying what I was trying to say.
But yes. I thought of that as you were talking, because that's
correct.
True. And also what you said about, and I mean, everyone's like this. We like the things we know. Right. We like our routine. We like our comfort. I mean, our brains deliberately like those things because they protect us.
Well, and I think too, for Dawson, like his parents were pretty happy from what he saw. Mm-hmm. And so it was a happy situation. My parents were not so happy, and we did see trouble, like arguing and stuff like that, but we still didn't want our parents to split up.
Right.
Like my sister and I is what I'm talking about. And I think for Troy, it was probably the same. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was, and I also thought it was interesting, because I think kids probably do this, but just in general, if you're going through a divorce or any sort of difficult thing in life, there's all this like outside advice. And so Dawson right away is like, well, did you try this? Did you do that? Did you da 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 da? And it's sort of like, they're like, well, yeah, we got to this point after doing all the obvious things. And I get why he was suggesting them, but it was a good reminder to me just in life. I'm like, look, when people get to a point like this, like, or they, they've chosen a certain path for cancer treatment. Like, it's not my place then to be like, well, did you start eating this food? Did you take this vitamin? Like, it's like, people generally are pretty good at exhausting all avenues before deciding what they think is next best for them. And I just thought that this scene, especially for when it was written and all of that, was really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
On a difficult topic.
I agree.
But I did put an X, mainly because it made me sad, not because it was problematic, when Mitch is driving away from the house. Oh. And like Gail's standing there and he's kind of looking back, but kind of not. And it just, they did a good job, really. Like, I had that like pit in my stomach. Like, oh, wow, he's driving away from his family and his home. No shade on him at all, but just like the overwhelming sadness of that.
I'm irritated, though, that he was the one who had to leave.
Really?
Yeah, because she's the one who had the affair.
Right. I mean, not to be like sexist, but I just assumed it was because the woman and the child will stay in the house and I'll be the man that goes and lives in a motel.
But see, that is sexist.
It is. But I mean,
because I'll tell you right now, like if it was me in that situation and my husband like went and had an affair, or wait, no, let me flip it.
The other way around, yeah.
I had an affair.
Yeah.
You can be damn sure he wouldn't be like, oh yeah, stay in this lovely house. He'd be like, get the fuck out. Like, you're not just going to stay here and me go
I don't know
rearrange.
That he would, though.
Oh, I'm telling you, 100%.
If for no other
he would not give up his house, his space that we like make, and the kids and all that. I'm telling you right now. Okay. And Troy, you can come correct me, but I guarantee you, if I went and cheated, he'd be like, get your ass out of here. And because I would do, that's how I would do too. I'd be like, get out.
I would too.
And he would feel the same. He would be like, you need to go. He wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just going to go live in some sad place.
Yeah. And and it's not in the heat of the moment either, right? Like, so like I could see in this scenario, Troy being mad and being like, get out. But like, he wouldn't mean like, get out for the rest of your life in that moment. But then if you had counseling or chatted or mediation of some sort, I could see at the end of that him being like, well, maybe I will, just for the sake of like continuity and family comfort, I'll be the one to go.
I don't think so.
That's just
Do you know how long he's waited for that video game room upstairs?
That's true.
Girl, he ain't trying to give that up.
No, that's true.
And also he's not he would want to be with the kids too most of the time.
Yeah, that's true.
And I would too. It would be hard because we would both want that. it would be a hard thing. And also, he's the main breadwinner.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to afford that house by myself.
True. I guess that's.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. And these are all like dependent on families and financial situations. I will say too, in this case, as far as like being with the kids, not to be like, oh, it's just one kid, but it's one kid and he's almost an adult.
Yeah.
So it's a little different because
right.
at least in the show, especially, he's living his own life out there. So it's not like dad and mom see him that much. But I guess in the case of dad, maybe you're giving up like the mornings that you would see him at breakfast before he goes to school, or
yeah.
the little
you're giving up daily life.
Yeah.
And that's, he shouldn't have to. I mean, I'm not saying like if you fuck up, you should be punished the rest of your life, but also your actions have consequences.
Right.
So you run out on your spouse that you committed not to run out on. You shouldn't get to just continue on in your comfy big old giant house. You should have to leave. He should get to stay there. He didn't do nothing.
I will say, and I don't know that he did this on purpose, but like, then the scenes with her alone in that big empty house,
mm-hmm.
she was feeling the weight of like, or at least it seemed that way, of what she'd done.
And I was glad. Yeah, I was like, good. Like, I feel bad for her, and then I don't, because then I'm like, but bitch, you dug this hole yourself.
Right. And that's true.
And you were having that. It wasn't like a one-time oopsie thing. Not like that's okay.
It's not. But
it was an ongoing relationship.
Right. Where you're choosing over and over.
Deceiving over and over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't. I if you can't tell, I have very slim understanding with affairs.
Tolerance, zero. But I mean,
affairs, I just
that's how
don't.
It should be.
Too many people in our families have crossed that road, and I've just seen the devastation that happens for years. Like, it doesn't end. And I'm not going to go into the weeds with that. If you're in my family, then you already know. There's multiple people.
You've got your own family.
Yeah, there's multiple people.
Maybe you've been in the middle of it yourself. But yeah.
And like, I know that sounds judgy, but I don't care, because that's how I feel.
That's how you feel. And look, in this instance, we're not judging anyone. We're talking about this show. And you're allowed to be.
Well, I mean, I am judging my family members who walked out.
Right. That's true. All right. So Danny's family.
I stand by that. I'm not okay. Like, if your marriage is falling apart, the solution is not just to walk out and be a liar. Like, be a grown up, say this is not working, get counseling or whatever, or get a divorce, and then go be with whoever you need to be with. That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not wrong. Okay.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Again.
We need to encapsulate.
Oh, wait, okay. I want to go back.
What do you have next?
Well, now since I'm feeling fiery, I'm going to go back and talk about this. We'll rewind a little bit in the episode. Abby and Jen were like standing in the courtyard at school, and they were like critiquing Christy's body. Like, are her boobs real?
God, yes.
They've got to be. And I just hate that. I know it's fiction, but I hate that like narrative pushing that girls just have to bash down other girls because they're feeling insecure.
Right.
I hate it.
I know, I do too. That was very cringy.
Yeah.
And I was even thinking, I was like, yeah, but like, I remember people doing that, but that doesn't make it better.
I mean, it still happens. And I did it too. Like, listen, I was part of that toxic.
But to kind of make it seem,
normal.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that. But then also, I put a smiley face. Abby had on a Jinko sweater. Did you see that?
Yes.
And she had that little side barrette.
Yes.
Girl, those two things in the 90s were totally
Jinko sweatshirt and barrette.
Yes. I loved those baby barrettes I have some pictures of me cute. In those. I looked like an idiot, but I loved them.
You loved them. That's all that matters.
I thought I looked so cool.
I love that.
All right. What else do you have?
I put that when they said just Jack. It was funny. Jackson. So from Will and Grace. Yeah. So I think that was later. So it wasn't a reference to Will and Grace, right?
Maybe it was. It was probably. I think it was around the same time. Yeah.
But he says something about himself, and he goes, "I'm just Jack," and I was like, "Just Jack."
I
have the jazz hands, so I just put a heart by that because I just thought that was really, really funny. And then when I get to like the actual dance, I said that this dance was very club-like. Like, my dances did not look like that.
Club-like?
Yeah, it was like super dark, lots going on with lights.
Oh, we had
and the music was like crazy, like beat heavy.
what? It was not.
Did I imagine that?
Yes.
I was just like, this was not like a high school dance I ever went to.
I actually thought it was pretty, because I also wrote down like, oh my God, swing dancing. Remember when that came back?
Yes.
Speaking of my prom date, that's why we had so much fun, is because I remember swing dancing with him. We had a great time. I mean, we didn't do any like the crazy flippy things because we were about the same size at that time.
Right.
But we had so much fun because that was like the late 90s was a huge resurgence.
I remember that. And it was like big band culture came back. Because I was in show choir at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yep.
And we did some of those songs and we did some swing dancing. And yeah, it was really fun.
And I just put all the dancing at the dance LOL because it was so bad.
It was so
except
bad.
The swing dancing was cute.
Swing dancing was amazing.
But you could tell who were like the dancer extras and who were just like the random people extras. Because when they film those scenes, there's no music. Right? They add the music in after. So you just have to like bebop and like hope. And I was like, wow, works. I don't know what beat you were following, young man. But it was
extra number 5. What are you doing there, dude? That's awesome.
Oh, that's so funny. You said it was very close. I mean, what kind of clubs?
I don't know why. I just was like, whoa, were they transported to Studio 54?
Katie, it was not. There's like DJ. I don't know. You're so funny.
Yeah, DJ, sure.
Studio 54 and a high school dance.
I don't know.
I can't. You're so funny.
I was just overwhelmed by it. Like, I want to go to school there. I didn't like when Joey and Jen had that little side chat, and Joey called Jen a barracuda.
I know.
I was like, oh,
again, with the toxic girl behavior, that men are writing in this show.
Yeah,
even though it does happen, but I feel like it just pushes the narrative.
Right. And then obvious X, and hopefully I'm not getting too far ahead of myself, when Dawson punches Jack.
Okay, I wrote Dawson hits a lot of people in this show.
This episode and the next one, or is it just, are they both in this episode?
No, because he punched somebody else at a dance the last season.
That's right. Was it Cliff?
Yeah,
it was Cliff.
Because we had a whole discussion, and then he punched Pacey in the first season,
right? And then he punches Jack.
Yeah, I was like, dang.
Oh, you know what it was? He doesn't punch in the next one, but he like. At the end of this episode, I think it's the end of this episode, he like throws stuff off his desk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I was like, all right, Dawson, you're like turning into the Hulk here, buddy.
Oh, I do. One more thing about the dance. I have a funny story that I forgot about until I was watching this. Because how Pacey was like, I don't dance. And then he went and danced with that girl.
Of course.
So I kind of had a similar situation happen to me. Y'all, this is so bad. And when I was a senior, I think, junior or senior in high school, went to like homecoming, and I invited a guy from another school. Worst decision ever. He was the worst date I had ever had.
Oh no.
And he told me, I don't like fast dance or whatever. And he's like, I might like slow dance. I'm like, well, that would have been nice to know because I am not a girl who doesn't dance. Mm-hmm. So he was horrible. He knew a few people there from something else. So I go to the bathroom. I come back. Not only is he slow dancing with this girl he knows, they are making out.
Stop.
Girl, yes.
What?
And I was like, well, lovely. Amazing. Great. So there was like an after party after that we were all going to. And now I drove because he didn't have a car or something. So he was like, so after the dance is over, really, and by the way, he acted totally unbothered about this whole situation. Like, we weren't dating or anything, but we were on a date.
I was going to say, you invited him because you liked him that way?
I don't know. I mean, like, we kind of had this flirtation.
Okay.
So it was a prospect, which was made very clear as soon as we got there. Like, this ain't happening. But you don't make out with someone. You could have saved that till later.
Wait for the next day.
Anyway, so we get in the car to leave, and he was like, oh, are we going to the after party? And I was like, yeah, no, you're not going. And so I brought his ass home, and I went to the after party.
Good.
Because she was there.
Oh, my God.
To her credit, though, she really didn't, she thought we were just kind of there. As,
she
like,
didn't
whatever.
know the dynamic.
Fine.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, my God. And I completely forgot about this until I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy, Matt. Totally made out with Heather.
Oh my God. So see, it does happen. Dawson's Creek hitting reality again.
It happened. Yeah, it happened.
Again.
Do you see? I had drama at dances very rarely. Prom had no drama. Prom was just a good time. But
oh, thank God, prom pulled it out in the end for you.
Pulled it out.
That was a weird way to say that.
That did not happen on prom night. Okay, hello. Remember, I told you.
I remember.
I'm
the
not
date
his type.
situation. You're not his type. So speaking of when they were dancing in the hall, did you notice that there was a poster on the wall of someone pregnant? It was like a pregnancy awareness poster, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and then it was like behind where Andi was standing.
Okay, no, I did not.
So like the other end of the hallway, and then I couldn't unsee it. And then I was like trying to I paused it and was like trying to read what it said, but it was something to the extent of like, don't get pregnant. Here's some sex education.
On a poster.
It was like this. It was like nothing on the wall, and there's this like pregnancy poster.
I can't believe you're very good at noticing that kind of stuff.
Weird.
I did not see it.
It caught my eye.
Is that like subliminal messaging? Like
I know. I don't know. It was weird. I was like, why is there one thing on this wall and this is the thing? And I just put that the dancing in the hallway with Christy with Pacey was cliche, and then I was upset because he was there with Andi.
I know.
Obviously.
Poor Andi. I feel you, girl.
Yeah.
Except not really. I mean, I was fine. But
I know.
Different dynamic.
And then I switch over to Mitch's motel room.
Oh, that was so sad.
And the Home Shopping Network and like all the things. I know. I hated that. But then he calls.
I know.
Which I don't know how I felt about that. Because on one hand, I was like, he called home. Like maybe that's the foundation they do start from, where we're not physically together. But like, I want to call you because I miss you. So we have a little conversation on the phone, but I'm still not coming back.
Okay. Did you ever have a breakup that was kind of like that?
I think that's what it reminded me of, where it's like,
and it never ends well.
Yeah. That's
or
true.
Did it for you?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously not with any of those people.
Well, right. But I mean, like where you're like, you try to still be kind of amicable and like kind of maybe you go back and forth, but it doesn't usually end well.
Yeah. You're right.
Like you need a clean break.
Yeah.
I mean, when there's kids involved, you still have to have communication,
of
obviously.
Course. Yeah.
But that like weird in-betweenness is it's not good for anybody.
No.
I didn't like it.
Yeah. I didn't like it either. But it did feel relatable.
Yeah.
How like you walk away and you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know why this says Dawson punching Jackie, but I think it's supposed to say Jack. It must have. I was like, who's that now? Oh, and then when they leave the dance and everyone gathers to see Joey and Dawson yelling at each other, what did you think about that?
So that actually happened to me at a dance too.
Jesus. They just went to all of Danny's dances and put them all in one.
No, but I it was, where you okay. Just, it's fine. I don't even know. There's no good story with that, except, it was an ex-boyfriend and I hollering at each other at a dance. That's it. And everybody was around us watching.
I feel like, didn't that happen in the episode where Joey was in the pageant too? I feel like it was a throwback to where they're walking out, yelling at or elevated volume, and people are like, what's going to happen? This felt very much like that. And then
nowadays they would have phones out. That's
right. Exactly. They'd be like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I did like when Pacey was honest with Andi and they kind of just like talked through it. Still, Pacey, come on, Pacey. Like you're there with adorable Andi, and then you're just
he's like, oh, she's a fantasy. I'm like, does that make her feel better? No.
Like you're not, but she is. But I also felt like the level at which they were talking was respectful, and he did admit that he was wrong.
Yeah, he did. And then I felt bad for him because he was like, why do you like me? I was like, oh, because I think we forget sometimes, like, Pacey comes from a really shitty home life because they don't talk about it that much in the episodes.
Right.
They do later on. They dig a little deeper into that in seasons to come. But, his dad pretty much tells him he's worthless all the time. His brother agrees with him, makes him feel teachers tell him that, like, so he has the confidence and self-esteem. Like, he really doesn't understand, like, why do you like me?
he means that. Like,
Right.
he's not like fishing for compliments. He's like,
Right.
this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because you're great. And not that like Christy's not great, but it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Like, he sees the depth of Andi and all of that, which he doesn't really attach to Christy. And maybe there is a lot of depth there, but he's not aware of it.
Well, and it's like you said, she's a fantasy.
Right.
Right. But reality is you don't fall in love with a fantasy. You fall
Right.
in lust
That's
with
true.
a fantasy. You fall in love with reality, which is a human.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah. So someone you connect with on a deeper level than that.
Correct.
What else do you have?
That's all I got.
The only other thing I have is at the end where Joey and Dawson say they love each other.
Oh.
As they're like breaking up. It's the first time. Because he's like, we just said we love each other and you're walking out. Or
Which
she's
was
going to
dumb.
go out
Like,
the
yeah.
window.
But also, yeah. Weird.
It was weird.
I did not like that moment.
And then he kept like making her come back. And then she finally left. But it was like, that was weird.
It's like those tropes in movies and stuff, or
Uh-huh.
even in real life.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I love you. I just can't be with you. No, then fuck that. Then you don't love me.
Right. You'll figure it out or you won't. I know. I'm with you.
Although I say that, and then I'm like, if Troy had an affair, his ass is gone.
You're like,
The love is over in an instant.
yeah. No more love ever again. But also, if someone loves me, they're going to love me no matter what. No matter what happens, they're going to make it work. That's
You ain't got time to have affairs.
No. I like, I've heard, I know it's cliche, but people are like, I don't even have time to manage like my normal life, let alone a side life. And I'm like,
for real.
That, like, also it just sounds exhausting.
Oh my God, I was just going to say that. I'm like, I have 3 men in my house, 3 males in my house. I do not need more.
No.
And I'm not attracted to women. So
I mean, that's where we are. Barely like text my friends back or my parents or whatever, like to try to keep up some sort of, even if it's energy. From a distance. I think it'd be really, really, oof, no.
I've
said like, in my future, if for some reason I'm not with my husband anymore, whatever that reason may be, like, that's fine. I'll be by myself the rest of my life. Not that I don't want to be with him, but I'm saying like, he's like,
I feel that
I don't want to deal with any of that ever again.
Oh yeah.
Ever again.
No,
we've gotten to this point. I love him very much.
I
don't want to have to try to get to this point again with somebody else.
I get it. Troy and I were talking about aging one time. Like, this is so morbid. But I said, when we get older and if something happens to you first, I am going to Golden Girls it up.
Yes.
Like, I do not want to be going down the marriage path again.
Right.
Because it is a lot of work.
It is.
And I feel like, you get, like, Troy and I have been married 20 years in April. We've been together for 22 years.
Wow.
Like, that's a long time to get in a relationship and get a comfortable place. And it takes so much work to have a good relationship.
Right.
I don't want to do that again when I'm old.
Right. No, me either. And then it's like, if you don't have the depth of a relationship, I don't want the person there then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that sounds really bad, but like,
no, I get it.
I don't want like a shallow, superficial, like, oh yeah, I'm kind of attracted to you. I'm kind of attracted to you. I don't know. Let's share a life.
Right.
Like, what's the point of that?
Right.
I'd rather just be by myself, be with my friends, be with my kids, grandkids, dog. Oh my God. A life with my like books and my dogs and some music and some coffee
notebooks
and some wine and some journals and some pens. That's a lot of things, though. Actually, I like the simple life, and the simple life
things. But you know what? We're gonna have sound. I would love to see a soundbite from us in like 40 years. Watch.
Seriously, they'll be like, "Oh, you've
just
been remarried 3 times, and you don't live by yourself, and you have
cats.
Hey, famous last words, right? I would love to have cats.
Oh, okay. It'd be me having a dog then.
My husband's allergic to cats.
That's right.
I mean, I do know. You know what it is? It's not that I don't like cats. It's that I think they don't like me. And I don't know how to
some
deal
probably
with
don't.
that situation. Exactly.
They're selective.
Whereas like dogs just like me. And
dogs like everybody that pets them.
It's easy. It's like, it's instant love back.
No, you have to earn a cat's love.
Right. And I don't feel good at that. I feel awkward trying to do that. And maybe I try too hard, and that's why it doesn't work. But I'd be willing to try.
You have to be chosen with cats.
Yeah.
Which it upsets Troy because Luigi chose me and Caden, and he's not a mean cat. Like, he just doesn't go to Cooper and Troy. Like, they're his last resort.
Yeah.
And like Troy will be upstairs in his blanket, like playing video games, and be like, Luigi, nothing for hours. I walk in the door and he comes running. I'll be like, Luigi, and he'll talk to me. I'll be like, Luigi, and he'll be like, meep, meep, and he'll like run up the stairs. Aww. And Troy's like, what the hell?
That's cats though. That's cats.
All right. Should we talk about the next one?
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna go right into the next episode, which is episode 7. Yep. Is it called The All-Nighter?
Yep.
Okay.
I have the description. Yeah, an all-night study session rates friction and unveils some surprises for Dawson and his friends.
Oh, yes. Okay. So this one starts with that traditional intro where Dawson's in his room watching a movie and analyzing it.
Yeah.
And so first you see him just analyzing. It was
an old movie.
it was like a Shakespeare in a movie.
Yeah.
Like an old movie. And then you realize, and you're thinking, well, didn't him and Joey just break up? And then like, what? And it's his mom watching it with him, which is really cute. And she looks pretty, heartbroken. Looks like she's been crying. She's got her tissues. But I thought that it was like a really good scene because the juxtaposition, she's basically telling him like, when you have something bad happen or emotionally charged, like a breakup, you're supposed to wallow for a bit. You're supposed to feel that. You're supposed to feel bad, because he was saying, which is kind of weird. He's like, oh, I'm not sad about Joey because it doesn't change anything. It's not going to bring her back. She's like, well, that's not the point.
Right.
It's a catharsis. It's like working through your feelings. And I felt that. I was like, okay, like as a person who I generally would just rather put a positive spin on something and keep moving, I've had to work really hard on not doing that every time and being able to like sit with uncomfortable feelings or sadness, whatever it's about. Or to be like, ooh, why does this thing bother me? Instead of like, well, on the bright side, blah, 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 blah. And there's place for that sometimes. But I thought that she just like summed that up really well.
Yeah. I also liked when she's telling him, like, talking about heartbreaks and breakups. And he's like, so you're telling me it never gets easier? And she's like, nope, you just go to bed earlier.
So good. I loved that
I was
line.
like, facts.
That was so good.
Totally.
So then they end. When the show starts after the intro music, they're in this English class.
Yeah.
The blue
books. Yeah, I wrote that down.
Oh my God. Do they still use those?
No. Also, remember Scantron's Victoria? Did you see the message she sent us? So our friend Victoria sent us this hilarious video about Scantrons. This guy commentating on our Scantron stresses. And it is hilarious. So
it's in our socials.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it
so
out.
Thanks for sending that our way, Victoria, because it gave me cackles.
Yeah,
but
so Scantron and Blue Books.
I did not use Blue Books in high school. I only used them in college, which was I was in college when the season came out.
I think I used them in college too.
Yeah, I never used them in high school.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
But I remember going to the college bookstore like on my way to take a test and getting a Blue Book and bringing it with me. Yes.
Yep. And so they are all freaked out about this English exam / essay thing they're all going to have to do. So Andi suggests they have like a study session. And then we got this new guy, Chris Wolfe.
What else was he in?
I don't know, but so he looked really familiar. And then I was also like, every guy on the show looks the same.
He was in another show in the early 2000s.
Okay. I wonder what it was. We'll have to look him up.
I got to look it up while we're talking. Because what's his name?
His name in the episode was Chris Wolfe.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to look him up while we're talking because it's going to drive me crazy.
So they all decide that they're going to, well, Andi wants to study, so they decide they'll all go to his house because I guess he's very rich and he lives in a mansion. And
they said, Pacey's like, they're totally loaded. They have a satellite dish.
I wrote that down too. And sure enough, when Pacey got there, he's trying to watch TV.
Oh my God, hilarious.
But I said that like his general look was very similar to Jack.
Yeah.
And to Chris Foley. Cliff.
No, he's not.
A little bit. Like same height, same hair.
You mean Scott Foley?
Scott Foley. What'd I say?
Chris Foley.
Sorry,
Betrayal. Katie always finds a way to bring up Scott Foley. Dawson's Creek. He ain't even in this season.
No.
And
I talked about him on the last episode.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You always want to bring him back.
I'm gonna find a way every time now. So did you find him? What else was he in?
Hold on. Oh, he aged nicely, by the way.
Oh,
hold on.
Like everyone on this freaking show,
right? Dawson's Creek gave them Roswell. That's what it was. Did you ever watch Roswell?
Oh, yes. That's who he is. Okay.
He was the alien.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, that was such a good show. That came out in 99. So it was right around it must have been right after this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. There we go.
So then they end up at this guy's house. And so first of all, he's like hitting heavily on Jen.
Yeah.
So we've got this whole other storyline now where somebody else is hitting on Jen, and it gets a little more nuanced than that as we go. But they get to the house, and Andi's got this whole plan. She's organized lady. She's like, we're gonna do half hour this and this and this and this and this. And they're like, okay, well, let's order a pizza. Let's order a pizza and let's do a bonding experience first. And they took one of those
magazines, which, by the way, Jane magazine. Did you read Jane?
Yes.
So I loved Jane magazine back in the day because it was like edgy. Like you had 17, you had YM, and that was it. And Teen magazine, right?
Yeah, Teen.
But then Jane came out late 90s, and it was a little edgier, and I loved it. Although I don't remember the quizzes being like Cosmo-esque. I remember more of like, feminist, which maybe, okay. I remember more of like feminist articles and stuff. Like I can remember them having like an essay about abortion, and not like, oh, it was so terrible, but like I deserve the right to choose what happens to my body and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Jane magazine.
So the specific one they were doing, which first of all was 100 questions, which I was like,
whoa.
What? Yeah, was a purity test.
Yeah.
Which is a whole thing. But I looked up, and this was the thing I was looking at earlier.
Oh.
I found a 90s quiz from 17 magazine.
Uh-huh.
We don't have to do the whole thing, but it was in the
November
1996 edition. Let's do a couple questions just to see.
But the magazine they had.
So this isn't the same one.
Oh.
But I guess what I was getting at is the questions they were asking felt like, I took quizzes like that. Now, I don't know that this one's as racy as that one. Oh, and Pacey had that line. He's like, some of these girl magazines are like more racy than Maxim or Penthouse or whatever.
Whatever he said. Well, here's my thing, though, about that quiz. That irritated me before we get into the fun.
Yeah.
That giant sex quiz. Okay, first of all, it's a bunch of teenagers taking it who are mostly pretty inexperienced. Even the ones who are sexually active, still pretty inexperienced.
It's a pretty narrow.
And not sexually mature, right?
Right.
Like that quiz, I could see people in their 20s taking.
Sure.
Right? I don't care what the hell fucking decade it is. Like if you're a teenager, you're still a kid. Whether you're sexually active or not, you're still inexperienced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So, but then I was irritated because that scene made it seem like, among plenty of others like it during that time, that it was normal and expected for teenagers to be like rampantly sexually active. It just made it, not that they're not, but it was like you felt like you were kind of on the outskirts if you weren't, right?
Right. Yeah. I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. I kind of took it as like, although I think what you're talking about is the answers they were giving.
That's what I mean. Like, of course, teens think about sex all the time.
And they would like take a test like this and like laugh.
Right.
And like,
I mean, hormones are a real thing. Lust is a real thing. And like teenage years are rampant for that. But like, I guess what it made me irritated about it is that it pushed that narrative that all of this other stuff was pushed at the time, that being frequently sexually active as a teen was expected, and also that you're supposed to know all this stuff already.
Right. That's true. I didn't think about
how,
that.
Like, which I feel like is a big disservice to males and females, but mostly on female side, because our bodies are way more complicated when it comes to sexual things. Sorry, men, it's true.
Right.
So when you go into, like, you are pushed this narrative at that time, I don't feel like it's as bad now.
Right.
But like, you're expected to know all these things, and boys are who are whoever your partner is,
right,
is expected to like just go in there knowing all this stuff.
right. Yeah.
So that irritated me because I can remember being a teenager, being frustrated, even an older teen, when you start having sexual experiences, being like, what? Like, I don't know that. And is that right?
I mean,
like, you know what I'm saying?
If we're looking through this lens, like it was just a couple years later when like the American Pie stuff came out, and that I remember feeling like that.
Yes.
Like you're describing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you had like the Jason Biggs character who I feel like more people could relate to than they would admit. 100%. But he was supposed to be like the goofball, inexperienced, like what you don't want to be like.
Right.
Not like what you should be, but I feel like he reflected more realistically.
Reality. Yeah.
Like even like for women, like
even that scene where he finally is with the exchange student and he, you know, has his moment too soon. That is more accurate.
It is. Yeah. That's mostly what happens.
Mostly what it's like, that's supposed to be right. But I don't know. Like, so do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a very like in-depth way to look at that, but I feel like that's part of the problem when we were coming of age in that time, is that you're pushed this narrative, and then when you like it comes with you into your adult, you're like, what the okay.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So now let's talk about the fun stuff.
Okay, so let me give you just a couple of questions on this quiz, and these are not purity questions. I just randomly looked up.
Well, good thing, because I am 100% pure.
Okay, good. Well, we wouldn't even need it. But I just want to give an example of the types of questions these quizzes were asking. Okay.
All right.
So again, 1996.
What
edition of 17.
17. All right.
At 11 p.m., it occurs to you that you promised to bake brownies for tomorrow's homeroom fundraiser for the needy. You, 1, crack open a Diet Coke and do the Betty Crocker thing till 1 a.m. whipping up delicious brownies. 2, stop at the supermarket on your way to school, pick up a bag of Chips Ahoy and say, "So sorry, dudes," when your pals point out the lameness of prepackaged goods. Or 3, show up empty-handed, saying that you had better things to do than soil your hands with brownie batter.
How about none of those?
I got to pick one to go to the next one. So let's
Which one? Wait, so if you had to pick one of those 3, what would it be when you were 17?
Probably the middle one. I would have just picked something up from the store. I do that now.
I mean, I would probably do that too.
No, you make stuff all the time.
No. When I was 17.
Oh, when you were 17. Okay.
I'm not going to the store at 11 o'clock at night.
That's true. I'm not. I didn't even go get coffee last night. I had my kid.
But actually, when I was a teenager, I probably would have gone to the store at 11 o'clock at night and just said, fuck it, I'm just going to do it.
Me too. Oh, not to make it, but to pick up the goods.
No, I probably would have made. Well, I would have
made it.
No, I didn't know how to make stuff yet. I didn't teach myself how to cook until I was an adult.
Let's do another one. Let's just see if these are bad too. All right. By the way, there's a picture. That's Gwyneth Paltrow. It's like half her face. Your all-time favorite place to shop is your best friend's closet. She has the coolest and most wallet-friendly stuff and always lends you whatever whenever. When she asks whether she could borrow your beloved J. Crew turtleneck, you, A, lend her the turtleneck, of course, plus a pair of faded jeans.
What?
2, say no way as you hand her a pile of 15 unwashed things that you've borrowed from her. Rude. 3, let her wear it, but only after she listens to an extended lecture about your corduroys that got ripped when she wore them last time.
Okay, what kind of fucking dumbass is going to answer anything but the first one?
Right. Like, the whole setup is like, she gives you anything anytime you want, and she wants your turtleneck. What are you going to do?
Who would even answer the other 2? Nobody.
Okay, so we're going to say that one. All right, let's do one more.
God, this is really bad. This is really bad.
Okay. Ooh, this
one comes up with
Hello
these?
Kitty.
Okay.
A girl you've never met in your life says, "What's up?" Sits down at your lunch table and starts unpacking her Hello Kitty lunchbox. I already know what you're going to say. You, A, say hi and offer up some Oreos. B, politely introduce yourself and your friends, but then, what? But then roll your eyes. Oh, roll. It's supposed to say roll. But then roll your eyes when she's not looking. Or 3, ask, "Excuse me, but do you have a reservation?" Can't with these.
Although, when I was in high school, I probably would have done B.
You'd have been like, sure. Who the hell is this? That's fair.
When I was in high school, absolutely.
Okay. Well, anyway, there's more where that came from. We'll get to eventually, but we're short on time today. But
all right.
I just wanted to like that quiz made me think there's got to be one online somewhere we can find. And this was literally just the first one I found.
I don't remember them being that terrible.
That was pretty bad. Just like the writing of it. You know what
Who
I'm saying?
came up with those? All right. We'll do it. We'll do an episode on teen mags because we've got to one day.
We've got to. Or just even an episode where we each find one of those quizzes for each other and just do it. That'd be fun.
I wish we could find, I'll look next time I'm thrifting, some old like teen YM magazines.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I'll look. All right. Okay. Anyway, so,
right, so
another thing. So another thing that was annoying about their little study session was how, okay, first of all, Chris is some like wine connoisseur.
That was weird.
He's like a 16-year-old, like, this is from Napa. And then they're like sitting around just casually drinking the wine.
I noticed
and they were, by the way, they drank like 2 bottles, just him and Jen, and they were just totally normal. That's another thing that has come up in this show multiple times is the teen drinking, the drunken or the effects on their bodies is not played up at all.
At all. They were just still normal.
Like chilling. Jen had that time where she threw up, but then she was fine right after that.
Immediately, yeah.
I'm like, you gonna listen, I drink 2 glasses of wine and I am sleepy.
At the very least, yeah.
But like they drank, basically they had 2 bottles of wine, so a bottle of wine each.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't like that either. I thought it was weird. And then it's like clear that they're the only 2 drinking it. And so then I'm like, is that a way of kind of being like, well, these are the bad kids in the group. These are the ones that are like drinking and having sex and like all the things. I don't know. It was weird.
I know. I just thought it was unnecessary.
It was. And I did like the line that Chris said when he was talking to Jen in the kitchen after he got the bottle of wine out. And then she was like, I don't know, like about you. I've heard some stuff or whatever. And he said, reputations are not worth the air they are written on.
Ooh.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of think it's true about you, Chris, but the air they're written on, like, they're nothing.
It's true.
They're just, that's all they are. I thought that was a really good line.
That's a good line.
I said pause for 17 quiz. Well, we already did it.
Pause.
Okay. And I may be going too far ahead.
Okay.
But when they get to the question and basically everyone just outs Pacey. Well, it wasn't everyone. It was Chris. Then no one came to Pacey's defense about the teacher incident because Andi doesn't know. Now, does Andi have a right to know about that? I think so.
Eventually.
If they get to be intimate. But that's at like Pacey's choosing. And also, that's so traumatic for her.
I know.
To hear it in that space. And I know that stuff happens. I know I've been in rooms as a teen where something like that happens. So maybe it's developmentally appropriate, but I did not like that scene.
I know.
I thought that was his story to tell. And part of the what makes him and Andi so great is that it doesn't have all that baggage.
Yeah. Well,
and they can just kind of like each other on the surface level.
But he did lie to her.
That's true.
So that's why she was upset. It's because he lied to her about it, and then she felt stupid because he lied.
Yeah.
And so, but I actually felt okay with how they wrote Pacey and Andi's little talk after that.
Agree.
Because he was like, if you can't deal with my past, then move on. Like,
right.
That's like, because she was like, oh, but Pacey, how could you do that? Oh, and
right,
I'm like,
right.
Okay, all right. I get it. And it's awful. I'm not okay with that storyline.
Right.
But also you that happened. Like that's part of his past and you have to be like not okay with it, but you have to accept it.
Yeah.
And if you can't accept it, then he's right.
He's right.
Now he should not have lied and he admitted that.
Yeah. But and he does say to her, like, I can't change it.
Right.
Kind of like what you're saying, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see what else here. Oh, and then I thought it was interesting when Dawson tried to warn Jen about Chris and he was like, oh, he's just trying to like sleep with you or whatever. So like on both sides, because on one hand I was like, well, good for Dawson, especially being, male presenting, to go ahead and say something to her as a friend. But then like also good for her to be like,
she's like, how do you know I'm not after it?
Right. She's like, thanks, but I know.
Right.
Hello?
Like, I'm not an idiot.
Right.
And how do you know I'm not doing the same thing? Which she kind of was.
Yeah. So I thought that whole thing was good. I was like, okay. Like, they're good job, Dawson, for speaking up if you felt weird about it. But, like, also good job, Jen, just being like, dude, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. You know, but there's been other times in the series she's not. She needs a little help. But
right. Oh, and Chris's sister looked like Amberly.
Oh my God, yes. I was about to say, is it Dinah?
I don't know. But she looked like Amberly from like a year or two ago.
Oh my gosh. That's a kid, one of our friends' kids.
Yes.
Who does things at my studio. She does look like her.
Right?
And I mean, this character on the show is a little more sassy than Amberly, but Amberly's got that little bit of like quick wit, you know, which I really definitely saw in the little sister. And of course, it's like the little sister that's like poking at everybody's insecurities. And then I guess they wrote down their answers to the purity test. So then she finds them, and it says that Joey has been in love twice. So now Dawson's all upset because who's the second? Because he, as far as he knows, she's only been obsessed with him her whole life.
Again, come on.
Which in the end, that is what it is. Well, when he confronts her, was she lying?
I'm not gonna.
Don't tell me.
But also another girl trying to kiss Dawson, even though it's little sister.
I know.
Hello.
Everyone wants to kiss Dawson, you guys.
Not
everyone.
Me.
Not me.
Okay, but here's the thing. I will say about Chris, the rich guy, he's a dick. But he also did ask for her consent and made sure they were on the same page. He was like, you know, we can just do our thing or whatever. And she's like, she's like, well, what if I don't want to go any further? He's like, well, I'm not an asshole. Or he didn't say it like that.
Yeah.
He was like, that's fine. But he was like, are we on the same page? And she said, yes. I was like, okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. I like that too. It was a way to be kind of like, and then it kind of gave an open-ended, like, if we need to, like, if you're changing your mind at some point, that's okay too, right?
Yeah.
Because he asked in the first place. Okay, so then they all kind of fall asleep.
Why was Pacey on a pool table?
That's what I wrote down.
What the fuck?
I think because it's Pacey. And people were everywhere, and he's just face down on a pool table. I was like, so first of all, I'm old, I know, but I cannot sleep without like a pillow, a blanket.
Oh, same. Like, but back in my younger days, girl.
I guess I could have fallen asleep anywhere.
Girl, I slept some places.
On a pool table, face down.
I mean,
maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember one time I fell asleep at a party. And so my sorority had all these like standards we were supposed to uphold. Mm-hmm. We were not supposed to shack. I swear to God, this is what it was called. Y'all, it's so bad. It's so antiquated at fraternity houses. Now,
you were supposed to shack there.
Yeah, because people would see you leaving, all right, and know that you were spending the night. And they took this real serious. Like, you'd get in big trouble if you also couldn't smoke standing up. You had to sit down.
I know. What?
Listen, I didn't make the rules. Exactly. It's the dumbest thing in the history of the land. So anyways, but if your boyfriend had a house, like or an apartment, you go spend the night over there all the time.
You couldn't be at the
fraternity houses.
Okay.
So I was at a fraternity party and I was with a friend of mine, and we were in somebody's room talking, and it was just her and I. Like, we were just chatting, and I don't know if we were watching something, but we totally fell asleep. And when we woke up, it was the next morning. Nobody came and got us. We were panicked. Like, and nothing, like, we were not even with boys. Yeah. I don't even know where the people were that lived in that room. Like, I have no idea. But we woke up at like 7 a.m. just like them. Or like when the sunlight, we were like, shit, we got to go now. Nobody can see us, and our clothes are going to think we did something.
God. Right. You're close to the night. What, the walk of shame?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And we really didn't do anything shameful, except had too much to drink probably.
Well, yeah. And passed out. But yeah, that's funny. And then, of course, like, everyone jumps in the pool with their clothes on.
What was that?
And that was weird. I was like, did they just want these people to be in wet clothes?
It was weird.
Getting out of
and then
the pool?
I was like, okay, they just skipped the first half of the school day, then go for that test. Because they're like, we have 4 hours. And I'm like, school starts now.
Right.
They didn't show up till 10.
And then, like, the teacher just has a note on the door.
Right. There's no substitute
and they're
teacher.
like, I guess we'll go to the rest of our classes. I'm like, where do you go right now?
And then they were like,
in the hallway.
Then they're sleeping on the football field. Like, where's the teachers?
They're like, I have an idea. And then they're like asleep on this like globe. And it was very like a globe in the grass. It was very aesthetic. Like they were equally apart from each other.
Silly.
And I was like, this is the silliest thing I've ever seen.
So silly. And also, on that note, okay, do their parents
I thought about that too.
wonder, first of all, they're gone all night. Then they're skipping school the first part of the day. Is nobody wondering where the hell they are?
Plot hole. I guess we're to believe that they, and then also like Chris and his little sister, there were no adults there ever.
No, he said they were away.
Oh,
so
he was just supposed to watch her. I mean,
I guess that's a little more believable.
That's a little more believable, I guess. And they didn't have like a rager. It was like people studying. And they didn't
were
drink
sipping
wine.
Napa wine.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever. You probably shouldn't have had all those people over, but it was like pretty mild. But yeah, I don't know too. The parents, I wondered the same thing.
I thought of one more thing.
Yeah,
the condom wrapper close up.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like
there was like 3 or 4. I was like, okay,
also unrealistic.
Hello,
unless you couldn't get it right the first time or two.
Oh well,
which is possible.
But
I don't think that's what's the implication. Yeah, we're talking about Jen and Chris, so
like,
they do go through with
interesting,
it. But,
like big litter pack of condoms there.
Well, that was quite an episode. So I'm interested to see what happens
you have a
next.
lesson.
Yeah, I have a lesson in a few. So thanks for listening to our double Dawson's episode. And we'll be back with another one of these and a normal episode next time on Generation in Between. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
See you then.
All right, bye.
I didn't realize what time it was.